This episode of the 84 Million podcast is sponsored by LitVM, Litecoin's virtual machine. LitVM enables smart contract capabilities and Web3 applications for Litecoin. Designed for builders, LitVM features a modular ZK stack that operates on top of Litecoin and is powered by industry leaders such as Bitcoin OS, Arbitrum, Espresso, Succinct, and Caldera. Together with all the other builders in the ecosystem, LitVM is advancing the Litecoin Meta. Visit litvm.com and visit the LiteForge Testnet at testnet.litvm.com. When it comes to mining, pools matter. This is why we recommend POWERPOOL. POWERPOOL is a mining pool built by miners to maximize profits. If you're mining from home or have a larger scaled operation, use POWERPOOL for the best payouts. POWERPOOL supports SHA-256, X11, Blake2S, EagleSong, K-Heavy Hash, and of course our favorite, S-CRYPT for Litecoin, Dogecoin, Bellscoin, and others. Mining with POWERPOOL is easy with its simple user interface, and the platform has all the reporting exports that you're looking for. POWERPOOL typically charges a 1% fee, but if you use the 84 million link in the show notes, you will pay less than 1%, which is excellent. So sign up, point your machines, and start mining with POWERPOOL for lower fees and better payouts. Cheers, happy mining. Hello and welcome to the 84 Million podcast. We are on episode number 60 with Omied Sadeghi, and we're going to talk about ForceX today. Let me give him an introduction here before we dive in. Omied he has 2 decades of experience in engineering quality and data standards development. He joins us today to discuss his newest project, ForceX, a quality-first on-chain intelligence platform built for accuracy, transparency, and trust. ForceX is institutional-grade data infrastructure, starting with Litecoin. Of course, you can follow him personally at Omieds, O-M-I-E-D-S, or follow him at ForceX, which is ForceX HQ. Welcome to the show, sir.
Great to be back, Kyle. I appreciate it. It's been a while.
It has been.
Right before we were just kicking this thing off, I was talking about how it was unfortunate that got caught up in that huge mess of traffic heading over to Amsterdam.
So what happened?
But I spent a solid, I don't know, it was probably about 30 hours at the airport back and forth. Ironically, I was heading out from Houston when the Dutch were coming in to play in Houston during the World Cup.
Yeah.
And at that point, there was a couple delays, but sat on the plane for 6 hours. Weather came by, ended up being a big mess. So we got off, they were rebooking us, ended up being delayed yet another 12 hours or so. And at that point, they couldn't even find out where our luggage was. They were flipping tail numbers, and I called and said, guys, not meant to be.
Yeah.
But I ended up having to forego enjoying the awesome hotel that we were at, and then went ahead and asked around if anyone needed a room, and evidently everyone was good. So I was like, hey, it's a free room. Yeah. David was able to go over there and sweet talk the front desk, and they ended up refunding, which was nice of them.
Very, very good. It was a bummer, and you're absolutely right. You did miss it. You were actually going to be on one of the panels I was running, the builders. Actually, no, I was sitting on the panel. Pardon me. I was sitting on the panel, and you would have been a co-seat with me. It was unusual because normally I'm doing panels, and I was actually on that panel. But yeah, I was looking forward to that. But that sucks.
I think I watched. You actually conducted the last panel, didn't you?
Correct. Yes, the closing panel.
Yeah, it was good. You guys were great.
It was a great event, and there will be more, but we were bummed to see you, and I was curious about, I knew it had something to do with logistics, so it sounds like a big screw up.
Yeah, big old mess. But yeah, I'd never really had the firsthand experience of dealing with AI customer service with an airline. As many years of I've been traveling back and forth from here to Calgary and Wyoming. that was the first time. And I don't know if it was just because heavy travel season, World Cup, what have you, but it was it was a disaster, to say the least.
Yeah, and
Glad it's over with.
it is over. It was interesting to see that game in Amsterdam. Everybody was out at the pub or whatever. But yeah, it happened in Texas. Um, that
That's
was
right.
that
It
was
was
a
in
big
Houston.
deal. And the panel we would have been on together, it would have been the trifecta, or the great triangle of Texas between me, you, me, and John Kim, who was moderating the panel. But either way, we'll look forward to that, God willing, in the future. But we did have you on the show before. You were on episode number 36. We will link that in the show notes. That was a great episode. It kind of told us a little bit about your personal story, and you had a men's beauty product line. You were basically accepting Litecoin as payment. You told us kind of how you got blue pilled or silver pilled or whatever. And now you're back with something completely different. And I'm sure several of our listeners are already using this platform that you're building, but it's pretty impressive, and we did want to talk about it. And of course, that's ForceX. And maybe this is more suited for the background that I presented at the beginning, but it's exciting. Before we go into the app specifically, how would you describe it, maybe broadly? Like, what is the overview of this app?
Well, so far the feedback has been absolutely fantastic. Our community has provided so much constructive criticism on it, but where the approach that we took, and I'll get into the background of why it started, but we take the posture of distrust of the information that we get, and it's not because we don't trust the chain. There's no other chain that I would trust more than Litecoin. But at the very same time, there are those that rely on information, and there are standard processes in place where the chain is going to perform a reorg, or there may be, say, an April incident. And that's where ForceX steps in. So as part of that data serving process, we are putting the quality gates in place so that when you receive that information, and it is essentially live, it's a couple milliseconds for every block that comes through. You are getting good information that you can rely upon, make those decisions, lock things in, and kind of reduce that risk that a lot of folks, whether it be exchanges or wallets, swaps, would be taking. But it was the years of data quality in itself, and going back to the background. I'm a ISO certified master data quality manager, and I utilize that quite a bit in the engineering space, and that was in the petrochem business.
So tell us
And
what
when you're
that
dealing,
means before you move on. Tell us what that means. Is it ISO 8000?
it is, yeah. So on the ISO 8000 side, it was really driven by the DoD. We were dealing with so many suppliers, various materials of construction, and when it came to interoperability and the availability of spare parts, materials of construction, you had to have everything um, built to a data standard. And that data standard would have to be enforced at the execution level on projects. And so whether you had a vendor that was using, their in-house products, they were manufacturing it and subcontracting out to others, we all had to speak the same language. So what what that led into is a tenet system of uh, data consistency across the board, minimum data requirements, provenance, and the business rule side of it, which is the validation end. And so taking all of those years of performing that, and for the lack of better terms, it's not a very sexy thing whenever I would have to perform audits, right? Quality coming from an engineering side, last thing you want to see is your quality control come in and then check the boxes that you missed something, didn't perform something, corrective actions come in place. But all of those years of experience I've taken, and I've enveloped them into the ingestion of Litecoin on ForceX.
Very cool. The data, is it bad? I mean, this is interesting because you're motivated to build this platform. I'm used to using block explorers, for example. Blockchair was one of the originals that I remember using. Um, we use it. We can type in addresses, or we can type in, a transaction ID or whatever, and we kind of can scrape it. So I've been taking these things for gospel, if you will.
Yeah.
Yet there's still a reason for you to build this. So what is wrong with the data that you felt that you needed to create ForceX?
So so I guess the catalyst of all of this was a transition from a few platforms that stopped providing us Litecoin data. Into the Block was one of them, and several others were gated behind a paywall that a lot of the community, you know, struggled to kind of come to terms with. Right, this information is available; it's public information, and yes, there is infrastructure cost to house this data and serve it up, but at the very same time, there was those slim pickings as to who you were going to get this information from and how they were going to curate it to the end user, whether that be someone who's like you and me, just going on to the site like you mentioned one, and just see what charts they may have, and if you wanted some of that data, that was one of the nice things about was it into the Block and
Glass node.
Glassnode. There you go. They allowed some capabilities where, especially now with everyone having access to LLMs, you could download CSVs, process that information how you wanted to, and that was very helpful, especially for us when we were looking at the fundamentals of how the network was performing, and that goes beyond Litecoin. That is essentially all the UTXO applications that we were evaluating. And so since we had that lack of visibility into the network, where we did find access to information, we would catch various presentations that were inaccurate, and that inaccuracy may be no fault of theirs. It could have just been the way that it was presented. It could have been blocks that should have been rolled back, padded aggregates. There's a lot of reasons why information could come out or let's say uh, um, uh, malconstructed, right? Um, so what we did is this started off as me just having a collection of nodes, and I was doing this to help participate in the community, strengthen the network, and provide some infrastructure for anyone who needed it. And it was at that point, understanding how the chain worked, digging further into the mechanics, the accounting of it, knowing that there could be some vulnerabilities at time, and at what point would we know that those vulnerabilities existed? So we started off with indexing that information. There's a lot of open source and available indexers out there, but in order to apply the quality gates at the ingestion level, when we start indexing this, we had to build that foundation from scratch. And so it was 4 months of just constructing that indexing side of it, specifically around Litecoin, and that is because of the web complexities of it as well. And if you've seen the ForceX forensics, you're able to look at an address, view its activity, and you can see where it pegged in, where it pegged out. That level of visibility is very important to us as a sound money, right? Sound money is gonna need to be spent and has to be traceable. And we're in this place where you get folks who believe that MWeb is for the dark side of transactions and what have you. But privacy is a God-given right, and if if you're able to trace how much you put in, what you do with it once it's in there, that's your business, and we can trace when you get it back out. So when it comes to things like taxable events or what have you, as long as you're keeping track of your own personal ledger, you're going to be fine, and you'll still have that privacy that you need. But for that level of confidence and in a chain and being able to have visibility into the transaction layer, it was important to expose that interface, and that's as far as we can go. Once it gets into MWeb, that's it. We know when transactions occur in MWeb, but you don't know what's happening when it comes to who's sending what, who, and then how much is being sent, so on and so forth. And you get back out whatever you have remaining in there or more. But those UTX, those are all accounted for, and everything is balanced to the T. When we start looking at reconciliations of some of the monetary integrity checks, we balance to the Satoshi, sorry, the Litoshi. And if it varies by even a single lit, we do not ingest that data. That is a mechanism, a fail-safe mechanism. That is a blocker. So aside from the 14 controls, those quality validations that come through on live blocks, there's upwards to 250 structural integrity enforcement that is being applied to that data once it's inside. And I got a good story about that I'll touch base on later in the cast. But we caught a couple things that in the infancy of the platform, we didn't have the mechanisms to alert us or to capture the events. We had so much that was just driven by the quality specs that I had provided, and we were just trying to get those ironed out before we even displayed this information. But really, really good story there. And it's definitely going to be huge moving forward with folks who are doing any bridging, swapping, or building wallets, what have you.
So maybe expand on that. If you want to go further, go ahead.
Sure.
The story, particularly, that you were referring to.
Yeah. The April incident.
Okay, I had a feeling.
Where we had that 0 day on MWeb. So there was a vulnerability, and unfortunately, there were folks in the ecosystem who lost a lot of money, and it was the 13 blocks that ended up creating that reorg, and it happens quick. They find that vulnerability, they pegged it out, and they started swapping. At the time, ForceX, that indexer, would not permit that data
because it was extra Litoshis that could be accounted for. Interesting.
And the structural integrity that we've got in the platform itself prevented it from even inserting the hash. So what ended up occurring is there was 700 and something retries that we had. Now keep in mind, the indexer wasn't presenting like it is today in the Explorer and everything else. And we ran a full report on what occurred on the platform that day. And in our case, we don't know what can happen. You're talking post Mythos era now, right? You don't know what's coming. So you got to build for any possibility. And as long as you are mirroring the logic that's applied in accounting principles on that chain, and verifying that as you index that information, then you can, with the level of certainty, know that this data is high quality and low risk for actioning on.
Do you think
Yeah,
anything
I
else
mean,
is going to be coming? You said like we're in a new era. I mean, what else could be coming?
you know, whatever it is, I hope they don't have to absorb losses like that. Um, as a result, and I had a write up from the devs is that they had mentioned that if the services that did escape that a lot of folks had to manually pause operations until things got resolved. And if there's a ForceX conditioned integration in there, a couple lines of code where you include the quality mechanism, that green light into the process, then something like that can be avoided in the future.
Hmm. That's good. I mean, how do you? So you have ForceX. There's the other ones that I mentioned, or that you even mentioned, like a glass node. Or so, how do you do things differently on your side versus maybe some of the competition or the existing intelligence platforms?
I guess the biggest thing is the trust aspect of it. So I wouldn't ask you just to trust it. When you're calling that information, every response is going to prove that it's been validated to which block and to which hash. So if you want to take something for face value, that's completely up to you. All right. We've seen the implications of doing so, and we should have trust in the chain. But if you have a platform, or if you are performing swaps, if you're an exchange, and there's there's some potential damages that could be incurred from bad data, right? However that may form, every provider is going to say, trust us. And we built a platform where someone who doesn't have the time, nor is their job, doesn't have to. The data is going to tell you whether or not it's qualified.
It says parse, store, display. I'm reading this off of your website. I guess that's the standard that you've seen surveying other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then versus the ForceX model, which would be parse, store, reconcile, validate, cross check, and verify again.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just ultra thorough on this.
Extremely thorough. And then the cross check that you're referring to is multiple nodes, just to make sure that if there is a split in the chain, we record every single reorg that occurs. And since I want to say to beginning of May, when the incident had occurred, there's been about 40, you
Mm-hmm.
know, one, two block most reorgs, and that's normal when you have competing chains. That'll split at times. So those um, uh, those capture mechanisms that we're using now are going to be a part of an early warning system that we will provide some of our partners, where if there is a potential compromised state of integrity to our known chain state, that we will flag that, and the webhooks will be there for them to use.
ForceX versus maybe the two others offhand that I can think of for Litecoin specifically, Litecoin Space, and of course MWeb Explorer. Is this, again, data is data, right? But is there
Mhm.
anything that we would find on ForceX that we wouldn't find on one of those sites?
The provenance and quality controls. Yeah. Uh, Before anything else, ForceX is all about validation. It's the foundation of everything that we have in there. So anyone can serve you the chain data, um, but we show you the audit that occurred before you start using it.
And you have some integrations. I don't want to go too far off the map, but you have, and I don't even know, this is free from what I can tell, but you might have paid versions too. Maybe you can go into all of this, the models and the different features that could be accessed on ForceX that probably don't exist on the Litecoin space or an MWeb Explorer.
Sure. So there's the platform side of it, which you'll see it when you visit the site. And for the user experience, we've got dashboards in place that show some of the fundamentals. We've got some proprietary economic calculations um, that we provide in analytics to show you the economic throughput of the transactions that are occurring. Every single dashboard will have complete disclosure and exposure of methodologies, how we got it, along with drawers for the dashboards that will explain the semantics behind them. Because some of them aren't, these aren't just like, here's the number of transactions we've had, or here's the hash throughout whatever grain or period of time it is. A lot of them are built-in analytics in order to get valuable information from the chain's activity. And one of those is the biggest one would be the economic flow. How much of what is being sent is actually transferring hands and being used for commerce. So when you go to there's the full, I guess, ability to download that information as well. So you see whatever you're displaying, you want to download the CSV, you can download that, and you can use that to evaluate or analyze that information on your own. You want to cross-check what's being displayed. I would challenge anyone to please do so. We've got a comprehensive feedback mechanism on the site that folks can go to and provide us with any findings or suggestions. In addition to the analytics side, right? You'll kind of see a play on the X in ForceX. We have Explore, Examine for analytics, and then Extract for the API side of it. So Extract is going to be the product that most folks are going to be kind of moving towards, and that is because of the AI capabilities and the MCP.
That's what I was looking at. Yeah.
Already being used on the submitted plugin that we've got on ChatGPT, got Claude, Grok as well. And so it's really cool when you can, ask an LLM or an AI assistant, hey, well, what's the status of my transaction, or what's the status of the network itself, and it'll be able to cite validated data right then and there.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the API and the plugins and the things beyond the general search or the Explorer, is that free with an account, or is it paid, or are there tiers? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, so the Explorer is 100% public, and that is free. There are some features in the Explorer that require registration. They're free to use, but it's some features where if you are exploring an address that you landed on, a lot of the community likes to earmark exchange wallets or fund wallets, what have you. There's a feature on every addresses page that says add to my watch list, and it goes into your account's watch list. And in there you can supply an alias and track that wallet if you need to. You could set up alerts on it when large transactions would occur, or any transactions for that matter. And it's a way for you to organize even your own wallets. And as the chains expand on ForceX, we'll have other script currencies on there, and of course at some point we're going to be adding Bitcoin. But the intention is to get to this level that we're seeking with Litecoin first, and making that the de facto standard.
I think it's great. Interesting. Of course, we like that you started with Litecoin, but thankfully, the gentleman who's building this is one of us. So this is a good thing. I do want to talk a little bit about surveillance, okay? Because you can plug now, and this is already to a degree possible with any transparent network, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's an open ledger, period. Now, MWeb changes that to a significant degree if you wish to use that part of Litecoin. But let's say, someone's concerned or, they want to do some analysis. Oh, I bought an ordinal from somebody. I'm going to find the address. Can you like backtrack it to the origin? I mean, this is the sort of thing where I think it's a powerful system. And how much can you do on an open network with these AI and the tools you're building? I think it's more than we ever thought, possibly. And I think there might be people wondering, like, oh, I don't know about this address or whatever. So, any comment on that, or maybe this is an insignificant, non-essential, or how do I say? It's an unreasonable fear that we might be carrying, but it's got to
I
be out
would,
there. People are thinking that.
it's out there. Yeah. There's folks who are kind of on the fence. You'll see a feature on the platform called address links. I don't know if you've used it yet, but it is an Arkham style forensics tool. Um, First and foremost, you could drop down the addresses you're watching, and it'll give you a entity object relationship diagram of all transactions in and out. When they even pegged into MWeb, how much when they pegged out, how much it was, and you can just follow the nodes that pop up, and you can trace it all the way back to the Genesis if you want to. So I mean, it's completely up to you.
It's pretty amazing. Do you have a node count feature? Would you know the amount of nodes? Because we've seen, again, Blockchair had a node count. I know one or two other sites did, and they all vary. And some of them are like, there's 900 nodes for Litecoin. I'm like, 900? I could be running
Yeah.
three in my house. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be more than that. But again, it's. And I asked Loshen this once. He's like, it would be hard to know. But maybe with these AI tools and what you're building, maybe it's more knowable now. But is there any kind of resource to know just how many Litecoin nodes are online at any given time?
So it's what is reachable at any given time, and getting those host names captured. And I the biggest issue is that a lot of folks, if they were to fire up a full node, they're going to see every single node that's ever been identified on the network, and you're talking, I don't know, it's like 12,000, 11,000, something like that. And it's maybe even higher, but it's a significant number. And what you're seeing on some of these platforms is reachable nodes that are currently available at any given time. And unfortunately, yes, like you had mentioned, we can collect that information. We could evaluate it, put some rules against it, just like we would with active addresses, right? We want to look at active nodes, and they go up and down. I, I mean, I have 4 nodes, and only 2 of them are publicly accessible, and 2 are running internally. So that is, there's probably a lot of folks who are running nodes who do not allow peers to connect to it.
Mhm.
And it could be indexers, it could be exchanges, it could be all wallets. There's various reasons, but yeah, I could say that publicly accessible nodes are far less than how many are actually running.
Run a node. Everyone should go to litecoin.org, download a client, and run a node. And then there's the full node versus the non-full node. I'm not using the right terminology. It's been a minute since I looked into this stuff. Um, but yes, you can, and you can have more. What is it? 8 to 11? Is it the 11 peers versus the 8 peers? I'm forgetting. I'm getting rusty in my node, my node
Yeah,
knowledge.
I can't recall in the config if you can set that number of peers, but I don't know what the cap was. That's probably a question for Loesch or one of those guys.
It's between 8 and
We could
11.
probably find out.
Yeah, it's between 8 and 11. But run a node. It's easy. You download it. You run it. That's it. Keep it
Oh,
online.
totally easy.
And we
Totally
and we and
easy.
we still get to. I have to wonder in 50, 60 years, are people going to be running Litecoin Core on their computers? I hope so. That would be great. Um, but who knows? The user experiences keep getting better and
If it
better, and people get further and further from the core.
it is.
that we don't know, but we can exercise that now. And if you exercise it now, you can always exercise it in the future. So I'm always pro node running.
That's right. That's right.
Uh, I want to talk about just some of the data that you're seeing, just to talk about Litecoin, where it's at, how you see it, the market, all that. Um, we'll go a few more of the things I have here kind of bulleted. This is interesting. So the morality of data. We've sort of touched on that to a degree. You were motivated to set up something different because some things were occurring. So I think there is a morality to data. If evidence is hidden, it affects the outcome. If evidence is known, it affects the outcome. Do we have the full picture? Do we have a partial picture? Does this make sense? So, for example, and this is me speculating. I'm just commenting on what I saw. BitPay, of course, they were very transparent on how many transactions they're running with what cryptocurrency, pay-ins, payouts, all of those things. Litecoin was number one for a significant amount of time, over 2 years. And that was admitted on episode 52 when Merrick came on the show and said, yes, it is. And that data support, we got on bitpay.com/stats. We could read it. We could see it. Not long after that episode, actually, it changed. Now, maybe the market changed. Maybe people's choices for payments changed. Or maybe the data was reconfigured, because I remember there was a portion for Lightning, and then I think that kind of disappeared. So I'm thinking you could probably still present a picture, but sort of move the pieces around behind the scene and create a different picture. This is why I talk about the morality of data and kind of the presentation of the data. And I don't want to wear tinfoil hats, but I do want to look at reality here. So again, this is speculation, but the data and how it's arranged impacts how we see things, right? So was this sort of idea that people could be maybe obfuscating data or omitting it plainly for Litecoin, this was part of your motivation to set this up? Or is that being a conspiracy theorist?
To a small degree, I think it allowed us to, if anything, to squash the anxiety over those types of thoughts, and it also gave us a affirmation into others that were reporting what we thought was valid, and we have the proof, and we know that this is how the chain is performing. Its pulse is fantastic. Everything from its average block size to the average fee. MWeb flow has been moving here recently. You've seen it hit record numbers, and it's good to see that folks are using that privacy layer. But the number of active addresses is quite stunning. There's the, and with these wallets, you're going to have a lot of addresses cranked out. We do have entity clustering that gives us an idea of which addresses are potentially from the same wallet. So if we looked at the current trajectory and the current trends, the number of transactions that are occurring at the block that we're on right now, it's just going to continue growing exponentially. There's absolutely no doubt. And with the world changing with AI, there's a lot of chains out there, and there's reason why folks like these really, really fast chains that you hear about, like with Solana, or some of these other out there that are split second. If they were reliable, that's one thing. But when they're not, that can kind of hurt you. But nevertheless, AI is going to be performing transactions for us at some point, and they're going to be using the soundest digital currency available to them that has instant settlement capabilities. And if we've got more folks who are doing fewer conf transactions where you can settle, if that confidence level goes up with risks of reorg scores that ForceX can provide. If you're looking at adding a couple gates to your processes by using qualified information, it's just going to get faster. And we're running into a point now, especially with the market, where a lot has been flushed out. And
Absolutely.
uh, if you took a look at the fundamentals of Litecoin, you would have thought nothing changed. Right? The market sentiment is something fierce. Um, but when folks are actually using the chain, it's clear as day when you got the data in front of you.
Yeah, that is true. The metrics, as I like to say, up and to the right, the dollar sign is where it is today. It's on a fire sale. You can get a whole unit for like $45. Not bad. That's long gone for Bitcoin in terms of opportunity. We can do it
Right.
for Litecoin. But a lot of people focus on that. We live in this number go up world, and everyone just is it's depressing. But it is an economic reality too for miners. For example, if you're home mining and you have a 17 cents or 22 cents or whatever, like you're not going to be profitable now. Your machines are off. So that is
Right.
true. And we did see a big hash rate correction last October when the market sort of had the event. But it's been solid ever since. It's kind of stabilizing a new bottom. And then, when things recover and prices do recover, then that's going to continue to go up. So economic reality is real, but it's not everything. Of course, we all, would love to see an all-time high tomorrow. Make it
Yeah.
happen.
Right.
Make it
Yeah.
happen. But it's a waiting game. We don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would agree with you. Litecoin is being used. People love it. And LitVM, for example, now we have Web3 and they're in testnet. I know they're not launched yet, but it's impressive what's happening just on a testnet. Any thoughts on LitVM? They're a sponsor of the show.
Yeah, they're absolutely incredible, and that team that they have, I've been on several calls with them, and I've met several of them, and every single one of them is is unique in what they bring to our entire ecosystem. That team is amazing. Um, it hasn't been formally announced, so I guess we'll say it here first. So we're working to communicate ForceX to be the official Litecoin data provider for LitVM.
Very cool. Congratulations. Very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, it's going to be a great partnership.
That's good news. Um, yeah, I think it's amazing. It's exciting to see. We do look forward to having Aztec back and Rock. Speaking of agents or the agentic world or agents using cryptocurrencies, they do believe Litecoin will be chosen. Uh, One of perhaps a few, likely a few. We don't believe in one chain to rule them all, but I think we're a really good candidate for sound money or as they say, hard money Web3. So I'm a big fan, and I'm
You
looking
got it.
forward to see what comes as it goes live, and things are more real than the test net. But pretty amazing. I appreciate the comment on that. So back to my former kind of point, you didn't build this out of concerns for data manipulation. You just want to make Litecoin metrics knowable and a better experience and more, I guess, a more robust platform to basically drill down to whatever you want.
Yep. And it's not a race to get the data out. And it's one of those things where it's very uncommon um, to take a posture that I'd rather uh, extract, tell you this data is not ready for you. This isn't good enough, rather than index it and supply it to someone who's making decisions on that information. And it's a rare case, especially in this space, to take that stance. But it's one that we're very adamant on taking and continuing to take.
Who do you see benefiting from this data the most?
It would be in terms of data users. we discussed analysts and end users and how we go through our little personal projects of coming up with things like what was it, the like different cost models and valuation models, right? So but the biggest winners in this are going to be your swaps, wallets, and exchanges.
Yet I can use it, and I don't do any of those things. I would imagine states could use this.
But yeah, any municipality would be of it would be of tremendous use to them.
Yeah. So there's a lot that can be done with this platform. What's your favorite part about it? If you could pick one thing, extract. What's the item that you want us to know about ForceX?
That well, it's the unsexy part. It is the ability to perform those rigorous quality gates on the ingestion at the performance that we're doing it at. There are quite a few steps that go between that node supplying that information and it making its way into extract before it even gets to you, and it's still being done in a live state. So that's what I'm most proud of on this platform. And beyond that, address links is always, from a personal standpoint, it's amazing to see that data in motion.
Very good. And of course, we're all just searching our own addresses.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can run the 84 million one anytime. It's for the shop. We were, let me just say something this is an anecdote, but we had some flack from the community for not supporting MWeb at the store. And I said, there's really first of all, you can peg out from MWeb wherever you want. Maybe not an exchange, but you can on our shop. Okay. We don't have any filters to say, oh, this came from MWeb. No. Any Litecoin address you can peg out to in normal circumstances. And we just did it because ours is transparent, for tax purposes and things like that. It's like, this is one solid address. I know everyone can see everything we had on that, but whatever, that's why I did it, for basically transparency, because it is a shop and we do report that. So it was just interesting, but we did add another MWeb, and we've always had a link down there, but we didn't have it at the shop. I've added that, but so I go both ways on these things. But what am I even saying with this? We support both now. You can pay it with MWeb if you'd like. But the address thing, we chose to have a transparent L1 address for that reason. It wasn't because we didn't support MWeb, but we do have to think about what are we doing with the transactions that we make. I don't give any advice.
Absolutely.
I don't give tax advice. I don't do anything else like that. But anyway, I'm digressing. Is there anything else you want to discuss?
You bring up a really good point.
Go ahead.
With that, especially on the business side, right? When it comes to franchise taxes or anything like that, right? You're looking at you kind of balancing the books. It is significantly easier to do
because it's
on
import.
The transparent side.
Click.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then we're not. You can still report MWeb as. Again, we don't not tell you what to do or not do, but what I'm saying is you have to build your own ledger on that. When you have other technologies where you can put in a transparent address, like what you may have, the address search, and you import the whole thing. Very easy.
That's right.
Doesn't get any easier than that. So either way, really cool. I'm excited to see what happens. I think improving data on Litecoin is great. I like the existing resources we have, but I think yours is, again, more robust. You're reporting things in ways that others aren't. We have these extra checks. So I'm pretty excited about it, and it's good to know you're behind it. So we're excited to see what happens. And again, congratulations on the connect with LitVM and parsing some of that data. And I think that's going to keep your data running pretty strong just on those transactions with the volume they're doing. So Anything else you wanted to end before or land with before we end the show?
Yeah, I think that we can close it off when it comes to the ForceX side. That you know that data should be verified before it's displayed, and you don't need the additional infrastructure to do that. You can get it for free at ForceX. Now, you had mentioned previously about paid tiers. So right now it's still public beta, but all of the benefits that we've discussed are present. And as we start shifting into a release state, it's more than likely going to occur next month. There will be tiers. They finished up Stripe integration last month, and it's just not turned on yet. And depending on your use, right now it's a very generous tier for heavy users that would need that data constantly. And even if you are not a heavy user, you can use it for free. So you just set up your account. If you need to create an API key, go into your account, get your bearer token. You could use that in whatever app you have. If you're on ChatGPT or on Claude, Grok, whatever it is, put in the MCP URL, add the plugin. The other two, you'd have to manually add the connection. And it'll authenticate you. So you have to have an account, but it's free to use, and you'll have access to live data.
It's a good thing. And where do we find this?
You can go to the forcex.com website, and when you go through extract, you're going to see the docs for the MCP. Now, once you register, you in your account, you can go to the API and applications tab. And within there, you can either create a key for use, but if you simply have your account created, you go to your agent and add the MCP server there. It'll direct you straight to ForceX to log in. As long as you provide it permission to access your account, then you're good to go.
Good deal. Folks, visit forcex.com. Of course, you can find this gentleman independently at Omied's on X and also officially at ForceX HQ. So again, thanks for coming on tonight, Omied. It's exciting to see what you're doing with ForceX. We celebrate data for Litecoin, and we look forward to having you back in the future and seeing you at a summit again, because we saw each other
Absolutely
in Vegas, but unfortunately we didn't in Amsterdam.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, have a good one. I appreciate the time. Folks, it's late here. We're doing nighttime recording in Texas, and we'll call it a day with that. Omied, have a good one. We'll talk soon.
All right, Kyle. Take care.